We got this thing! We got this thing! Get me on! Got this shit!
Chicago, August 2020. Ariel Atkins, a BLM organizer of the Chicago BLM chapter. Notice the fact that I'm no longer saying Black Lives Matter, it's just BLM, because I don't want to conflate an actual positive statement with this group. This BLM organizer has stated, I don't care if someone decides to loot a Gucci store or a Macy's or a Nike store, because that makes sure that person eats. That makes sure that person has clothes. Yes, because you can certainly eat a pair of Nike shoes. Because there's so much starvation in America and the inner city. You break into a Tesla dealership, that's definitely because the electric battery is so nutritious. Of course, the left will tell you that such statements, such as the one that Ariel Atkins made, and the actions taken are merely a fringe element, not to be given any credence. The first thing I would say to address this is the fact that victimhood has been installed in this subset of the population. What accounts for this? Take, for example, the 1619 Project of the New York Times, which essentially stated that the founding of America and the reason that America has prospered to the degree that it has is based on slavery, that was the principal driver of American success. In addition to this utterly false narrative, the fact is that the essay had numerous historical errors that had been pointed out by historians around the world. And somehow, this essay was given a Pulitzer. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but is it not possible that China might have bribed the officials at the Pulitzer Academy, whatever it's called, to give this essay the prize, to denigrate the United States, to sow seeds of discord within the borders of our nation? Now, today, the 1619 Project is going to be taught in public schools around the nation. I can think of nothing more damaging than installing a victimhood narrative, which goes along with China's desire to eventually dominate the world, possibly sooner than later if we keep warring and eating away at each other. The principal author of the 1619 Project, Hannah Nicole Jones, stated publicly that she was honored that the current riots were going to be called the 1619 riots. That's sick. This woman, according to many, is the de facto editor of the New York Times, and at minimum is pretty high up there amongst the staff. Chris Cuomo of CNN stated, when do protests have to be peaceful? Actually, Chris, to educate you, that is directly stated within the First Amendment, that people have the right to peaceably assemble. Meanwhile, in Portland, Oregon, in Seattle, in Chicago, and various localities around the nation, you have people that are being arrested for crimes associated with the rioting, with looting, with whatever infraction or felony they might have committed, and the DAs are letting them walk, including in Portland, an arsonist who bragged about his actions, who was caught at the scene of the crime, and for some reason the DA let him go. Does this not embolden them to go out and to commit more crimes? And let's talk about what instigated the recent looting and riots and destruction in Chicago just the other night. What happened was a black man shot at the police who returned fire and hit him. When you shoot first, you've got to expect a response that's not going to be very pleasant. But of course, the claim that Black Lives Matter made, that BLM made, as well as the leftist media, is the fact that an innocent young man was shot by racist police. So a question, why do you think that this idiot organizer of BLM Chicago said that this is reparations and that they feel that they are entitled to it? It's because the media continues to run cover for their illegal activities. Because any time that someone is arrested, as I mentioned previously, for what is certainly felonious activity, DAs merely release them. Of course, this emboldens them. They're going to continue to do this. Meanwhile, Circuit Attorney of St. Louis, Kim Gardner, goes after the McCloskeys, who were the ones who protected their home with a show of force against a mob that was already committing trespassing. They were on a private road and had busted down a private gate, destruction of property. But again, that's not the media narrative. In Louisville, BLM is shaking down local businesses, demanding 1.5% of their net revenue and getting them to submit to voluntary, let's put the voluntary, of course, in quotes, audits of their hiring practice to ensure that they are representing their workforce with a proportionate number of black people. Whatever happened to merit? Let me ask you, what if I were, or somebody else, let's put it on somebody else, were to go into a black-owned business that had hired only members of their immediate family and demanded that their business represent the percentage of white people in the area, which might be, in many cases, 90%. That wouldn't go over well, would it? The media continues to call the riots in Portland mostly peaceful, despite the fact that almost every single night they burn down property, they try to blind federal officers and police with lasers, which unfortunately they've successfully done. They attack the police, they commit assault and battery, and they try to burn down police precincts and make life miserable for the businesses with looting and vandalism, as well as for the locals as they are now extending their reach out into local neighborhoods. Ted Wheeler is letting them terrorize the local neighborhoods, does absolutely nothing when they try to burn down federal courthouses. In fact, he shows up to the rally and speaks and then gets booed, and then, and only then, does he declare them rioters. So to explain, this is why these actions, these lootings, these explanations and excuses are no longer on the fringe. The mainstream left, and I really truly don't understand what that necessarily means any longer, nods their head. They acquiesce, they agree, and then they excuse these actions. There's no pushback against it. So please don't tell me that this is any longer a fringe element. When you run cover, when you would rather report on Trump mispronouncing Yosemite than BLM shaking down local businesses, mafia style. This does not end well, as Antifa goes into local neighborhoods that they are having guns pointed at them, and eventually one of those is going to go off. That's just statistically true. I'm an American. I'm proud of my nation. I'm proud of what we've done in the world, regardless of the fact that we aren't perfect. I do not want this to end in bloodshed. Unfortunately, the left has given great latitude and power to groups that are actively trying to destroy the fabric of our country. And in doing so, everyone on the left bears culpability. Do you want the right to call out the KKK, the neo-Nazis? That does take place. So to my friends on the left, I beg of you, call out the insanity of Antifa and BLM and get them to stop the rioting and looting and using up whatever goodwill they think that they have that they are owed reparations for, because you are spending them right now. Please share this video, thumb it up on YouTube, and subscribe, and leave me a comment with your thoughts as to what we can do to prosper and come back into unity as a nation. Peace and blessings to everybody out there.